Hi, this is Stephanie Miller from The Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from my show on Political Voices Network.
Can we please just not be mean to Lauren Boebert? Can we all just enjoy her last year in Congress together, people? Can we enjoy it? Look at all she's done. She's given out so many jobs to so many people.
Do you know people have tweeted the picture of me with my hand on Hal Sparks' penis, and I am just doing a public service on stage demonstrating a boberting, a good boberting, and
You had the good taste to have better lighting than she did for the same action in a theater. So well done.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
That's okay. Look, you got to get through Beetlejuice the musical any way you can. I don't judge her.
By the way, you tweeted. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. You were responding to someone. Everyone knows Donald Trump did more for black people than most. But did you know Ronald Reagan made Clarence Thomas chairman of the EOC? And you said Ronald Reagan is on tape with Nixon calling the African UN delegation monkeys. He openly opposed an MLK holiday, was forced to sign it by a veto-proof majority. He refused to oppose South African apartheid and made a literal segregationist Chief Justice of SCOTUS. Trump was worse. I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean,
John Fugel saying "Slayer of right-wing trolls." Thank you.
Listen, it's only facts about Ronald Reagan. You know, he was a product of his times. Sure, he was probably as racist as my grandpa was, but the facts are the facts. He did not want to make MLK Day a holiday. He said it on the dais in front of Coretta Scott King. He would have preferred Thomas Jefferson. He had a Congress that, would override any veto. He was forced to do it. He made a segregationist Chief Justice of the damn Supreme Court. And anyone can listen to the Nixon tapes and hear him talking about those Africans and how they don't even know how to wear shoes. I mean, This is the guy that is the object of all their bedtime fantasies. And the reality is, Donald Trump's a lot worse, but that's racism in the 21st century. It is the denial that racism exists. We talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
They're not mad at racism. They're mad at things that push back. They're mad at DEI. They're mad at Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
They're mad at anything that is anti-racist. But they never get mad at the actual bigotry.
You talked about, Nikki Haley saying Obama caused, divided us. And you're like, he made the racists really mad being the first black president.
Saying Obama divided us by race is the polite way of saying Obama really upset our racists.
Yes.
And that's all he did. I mean, and again, it's still going on. I mean, Donald Trump is not running a very good campaign. It's going to get messy.
Oh, I love when you speak Bible while we're waiting for separation of church and hate. You got John Fugelsang's book.
Yes.
Somebody tweeted, you provide the scripture you're referring to so we can dissect it. This is an easy one to point out. Your proof texting life for life Judaism got a lot of things wrong. Jesus is for the death penalty.
Oh, no.
Ironic. Okay. So you said Jesus overturns eye for eye, stops an execution, commands you to forgive 70 times 7, says the only the sinless may execute, does not appear in the book of Exodus. No Trumper can name one actual Jesus teaching that conservatives fight for. Thank you.
They can. They can. Ask your conservative loved ones, what actual Jesus teachings do you fight for? And you'll find out how little they've read the actual Bible. And this is the fake Christianity of our century. We just saw last week, Alabama executed a guy with this poison that the American Veterinary Association said you shouldn't euthanize dogs with back in the year 2000. And they're wondering why people are running away from religion when Greg Abbott is welcoming the stranger by putting razor wire in the Rio Grande. It's you need to believe the Bible to call these frauds out because they're mean, awful people, and they use the Bible exclusively as camouflage. We got to tear it away.
Yeah.
It's not anti-religion.
Speaking of that one,
you to call out right-wing hypocrites.
Somebody, Jody, how do you come for John Fugelsang on Twitter?
You don't. You don't.
Okay, someone tweeted, Biden wants to punish Texas for being a red state. Every Democrat dreams of turning Texas blue, and this is how they want to do it. They never dreamed Abbott would put them on buses and deliver them to so-called sanctuary cities. Martha's Vineyard, blah, blah, blah. You said Greg Abbott's a Christian who follows Christ's commandment to welcome the stranger by using razor wire through the Rio Grande to murder those trying to seek a better life. The GOP SCOTUS told him to stop. Our racists are getting dumber, folks, and meaner. I mean, and doubling, what was it Lauren Boebert said? Which was also kind of just dumb. But she wanted also not just razor wire, but spikes, alligators, and an electric fence.
Electric fence.
Which would electrocute the alligators. But let's not get into
Don't whiz on it.
Nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
It's interesting how a national prayer breakfast in the Capitol doesn't really make us a Christian nation, does it? That would require caring for the poor, welcoming the stranger. And again, Jesus was against the death penalty. So if someone is against abortion, which Jesus never mentioned, but they're for the death penalty, which Jesus specifically opposed, we don't ever have to take their claims of Christianity seriously.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
All a joke.
Well, you know,
conservative religious people working with authoritarian government is exactly what killed Jesus.
Yeah, thank you.
Conservatives and authoritarian government.
Speaking of this whole dumbest of tie lines about Taylor Swift, we were saying yesterday, like, evangelical Christians, I think, hate her because she's more like Christ than they will ever be. I didn't know the tens of millions of dollars she's, raised and given to various causes. I mean, among other things. I mean, she really is just a beacon of sort of joy and light and positivity. And of course, that drives them insane.
He gave $50 million as a bonus to her tour staff. Donald Trump took $50 million from his donors to pay his legal fees, folks. It's pretty obvious. Taylor Swift is a case of women's be thinking too much. And if she was coming out there saying, let's throw more women in jail for abortions, let's be meaner to migrants and trans children, these so-called Christians would put her on a pedestal and worship her. Yeah. They're all frauds. I'm thrilled they're declaring war against her. I hope they go even harder against her, Stephanie. And my fondest hope is what we fear in the Middle East will actually happen here, that the war on Taylor Swift will expand into a larger war where they go after Beyonce and the entire beehive. Please, you idiots, please go after them.
Is there not a two pop star solution? Is there not?
My God, and over NFL, they're mad about her showing up at NFL games. We finally reached the point where there's head injuries in football fans.
Yeah. By the way, if Kanye West ever said one right thing, it was, I'm going to let you finish, because she finished. She finished that argument. Yeah. I love you retweeted a reporter. Are you thinking of trying to use campaign funds to pay some of the penalties? Trump, what penalties? And you said with denial like this, he never needs to have a good lawyer. That's why you're John Fiegel's thing, and I'm not.
Sorry.
That sends me into a Friday in the best way possible.
I got a call the other day asking me to go on a cable news show. I won't say which channel, but they wanted me to go on to talk about Rachel Maddow and E. Jean Carroll laughing over the $83 million verdict. And isn't this offensive? Isn't this the worst possible thing to do, to be laughing and smug over the verdict? And I said to the producer who called me, no, the worst thing possible is sexually assaulting a woman and then defaming her. Yeah. I think that's a bit worse. I'm proud to be alive at a time when we're seeing people tell these mediocre men they can be replaced, and where women aren't taking it. And this New York state law was a deeply moral thing that allows redress of grievances. Yeah. Well, they called back an hour later and said, yeah, we're killing the segment. And then I taped it, and that same show that night, they had on some other person just agreeing with the host how awful Maddow and E. Jean Carroll were. So it's like, I was so proud to get myself X'd out of a show for saying it. But all of these MAGAs have got to donate more money to their billionaire to prove they're not suckers.
I was shocked.
Money in the bank. E. Jean Carroll wants to go shopping, MAGA. Give Trump a campaign donation.
I was shocked. Weren't you? The latest polls show Biden ahead with women by 22 points. For some reason, a convicted rapist that wants to take bodily autonomy away from millions of women, not as popular. Right. Who knew? Oh, well.
Yeah, listen, don't let any of these... I don't believe any of these polls showing Biden losing in 6 of 7 swing states. It's all rubbish. I'll say it every week on your show to your deeply sexually attractive listeners. These are polls of people who answer landline phones.
Yeah.
They're polls of people who pick up their cells when they don't know who the caller is. It's not an adequate cross-section of America. Donald Trump sucks.
That's right.
He's not more popular now than he was in 2020, people.
As Joe Madison would say, what are you going to do about it? Vote. Vote. Vote is what he would say. Oh, Lord. John, where do we start today? Can I first of all just say, we've already talked about it. I've already cried. But, our SiriusXM family here has taken a huge body blow with the passing of Joe Madison, which I just was saying he just one of democracy's great warriors, just a titan, and just when we need him most in this, he just, as I keep saying, like he walked the talk, like he, oh my God, did the hunger strike for voting rights. And I just beseech everyone, please, for Joe Madison, do everything you can to save our democracy this year. I know you.
Yeah. One of the great things about working at SiriusXM was getting to have Joe Madison as a coworker. And all the times he came on my show and all the times I got to appear on his show on SiriusXM Urban View, we're only one channel apart, Urban View and Progress, so we're already neighbors. And I mean, Joe was a legend. He told incredible stories about the indignities of growing up under segregation. He was someone who went on a hunger strike with Dick Gregory in the 90s, and 25 years later went on a hunger strike for voting rights in this country, announcing it on Sirius XM. Joe is in the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest radio broadcast in history. I think it was 55 hours. I was on for hour 34. And he was someone who always spoke truth to power, who always looked out for the marginalized, whether it was African Americans, immigrants, transgender people. He was always fighting for the people that other people were trying to dump on. Joe said, eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. Only a well-informed public stays free for very long. And honestly, he was just someone who made me a better American, a better broadcaster, and a better man. And I love him very much. Our airwaves and our country is diminished without him.
Yeah. I just was saying, John, that he and his wife, I just have never met nicer people in this business. I've never met someone more supportive of other talent. He was so supportive of me and this show and of you and Frangela. I love Frangela so much. It just he was such a he had the most giving, generous heart about other people and other talent. But anyway,
he did. He really did. Look, he brought me on Urban View, and I'm so white albinos call me honky.
Yeah, you're nearly translucent. Yeah. I can. Yeah.
No, I listen. I know. I always told Santa all I want is pigment, and Joe was, Joe reminded me that sometimes God gives the whitest guys the most ethnic names, and